Hello, I'm Adam and welcome to the garden. Well, this year has been a fantastic year for blackberries, and in this video today I'm going to show you how you can make your own homemade blackberry jam. When making jam, it's important that we wash the equipment well, especially the jars. They need to be washed in warm soapy water and then placed in the oven at a temperature of 140 degrees for about 10 minutes just to sterilize the jars. The next step is to place the fruit in the saucepan at medium to high heat to begin the process of softening the fruit. If you want a coarse jam, you do not need to soften the fruit as much, or if you want a lighter jam, mash the fruit with a wooden spoon or a potato masher, for example. You could also use a blender. You can use this method to make all types of jam. With some fruits, it may be necessary to add a little water to help the softening process, depending on the fruit. Boil for about 10 minutes, as you can see here, until the fruits have completely combined to create a thick liquid. We now need to add the lemon juice and sugar to the saucepan to thicken the jam. The sugar is the preservative, allowing us to store the jam for many months, and the lemon helps release the pectin from the fruits to help the jam set. Now, the principles of jam making are very similar for all types of fruit, but some fruits have more pectin than others, and if you use fruits such as strawberries, for example, it may be necessary to add pectin to the mixture. There is usually plenty of pectin, however, in blackberries. Apples also release quite a bit of pectin, and so you can add apples to the recipe, just as I have done here, to aid the setting process when making jam. The next step then is for us to boil the jam all together for anything between 10 minutes and half an hour at a constant temperature to ensure that the jam reaches the setting point. It's a good idea to regularly mix the jam just to stop the jam from sticking to the saucepan and burning. After boiling the mixture, you will see that a little scum has formed on the surface, and so we need to remove this before storing our jam in jars. Now, I use a knob of butter in the mixture to push the scum to the sides of the saucepan. This allows me then to remove the scum from the edges with a spoon. The scum itself doesn't affect the taste of the jam, it's rather more aesthetic on how it looks. Leaving the scum in the jam, for example, can trick us into thinking that the jam has gone mouldy or past its best because there are white bits left in the jam. After removing the scum from the jam, we're then ready to test for the setting point, and this is a very important part of the process. I use a very cold saucer or plate that has been in the freezer for about a quarter of an hour beforehand to do this. When pouring the jam onto the plate, leave it for a few minutes. If the jam then is ready and has reached the setting point, a layer of resistance or skin will form on the top of the jam as you push a teaspoon or your finger through it, as you can see here. If not, boil the jam a little more and possibly add a little pectin if needed, depending on the fruit. We are then ready to place the jam in the jars. With a funnel and a ladle, place the jam in the jars carefully. Now remember to fill the jars right up to the top, because jam and all kinds of jellies will shrink a little bit with time, this creating a space on the top of the jar. Take care doing this, the jam is very hot and it's quite easy to create a mess at the same time. It's important to try and keep the sides of the jars clean as well to ensure that no bacteria enters the jars and affects the shelf life of the jam. It's now time to place the lids on the jars. Now, we do this whilst the jam is still hot in order to create a vacuum as the jam cools. This then will tighten the lid and completely seal the jar, aiding again in preservation. Lastly, we need to label our jars so that we don't forget what jam we have made and when we created it, something I always seem to forget. I hope this video has given you a rough idea how you can go about making your own homemade jam. Now don't forget that the hedgerows at this time of year are absolutely teeming with fruit, and foraging is free and is fun. Pob hwyl as you create your jam, and if you have an opportunity, please leave a comment below this video and share amongst your friends and family. Tan y tro nesa, hwyl am y tro.